Welcome to the Deep, Dark Truth.
Welcome back to the Deep, Dark Truth. I'm Moe.
I'm Chip.
I'm Mikey.
And today is our very first episode of After Dark, where we'll be having case discussions and just general yelling about things that we didn't contain in the episode.
We're pretending to be respectful. If you came here for the comedy, this is the episode for you. By which I mean the swearing.
So today we're going to be talking about the case that we just released, the case of Joann Romain, just chatting a little bit over what we thought about different aspects of the case, and that's pretty much it.
That shit was fucked up.
In this episode, even though we will be commenting on a whole bunch of things, we still obviously won't be alleging guilt or pointing any fingers anywhere. Someone will sue us.
Or worse. I mean, what?
Yikes. Help me.
It's fine. We have to investigate each other's murders.
Wait, we need to talk after this. I don't remember what the I've been kidnapped
Our code words? Uh-oh.
code word is. Me and Chip have code words for like 20 different things. But it's been a while since we've put them into effect. So
That's a good sign.
I'm very concerned that I'm going to have to give you
I think it might...
passcode soon, and it's going to be the wrong one. And you're going to be like, what?
I think it's one that I'm remembering.
Oh my god, I forgot. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so what did you guys think was the biggest inconsistency in the case?
They show up at the daughter's house or the mother's house or whatever it is before anything has happened.
Yeah, I think the first meeting of Michelle with the officer, right? But she went to her mom's house and she wasn't there, so she drove to her aunt's because her mom would go there after church sometimes.
Yeah, so they drove to the aunt's house, and I don't think that they drove by the church, which is where I thought that they would have, but it makes sense. They're like, oh, it's after church hours, so it's probably the aunt's.
Cops show up at your house before someone's reported missing.
Right, and the officer asks her if her mother is missing, and then backpedals and says that he was sent there because she is missing. So that's, for me, the biggest inconsistency.
Well, I think to kind of drive that point home, who do you know that's ever been able to get somebody declared missing in 2 hours? If the family was pushing for it?
You can't.
So even if there was a missing endangered person, unless you're a minor, you have to wait at least 12 or 24 hours, unless there's signs of a struggle and there's blood and this and that. This was footprints, and those footprints weren't even anywhere near her shoe size. And what was it, 100 and something feet away from the car, these footprints? It's through a parking lot and then across the street. Strange.
I also love when we don't interview witnesses, or we throw those interviews out.
The lead that her mother was missing because they ran the car, it was Michelle's car.
Right.
Michelle would have been contacted first.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't think Michelle was missing.
Right.
We understand.
It's also crazy that the judge said, basically, you should sue again under this other precedent, and basically was handing them the precedent. So I'm wondering if there was anything else that's not public record. Obviously, I have the court case through the transcription and all of that, but I'm wondering if there's any Exhibit A and Exhibit Bs that we're not aware of, because I know that there's some things that the family is having investigated and working with different experts on and this and that might want to keep close to the chest. And I'm wondering what kinds of things those might be for that judge to...
This is the wrong thing you sued for. You need to sue for the other thing.
It's just also, here's the number of my best lawyer. That's what it felt like to me. This is my friend Jake. He'll represent you.
Hey, if I end up dead or go missing.
Yeah, we talked about it, and then obviously we asked Michelle and Kelly about it. And part of my thing is the fact that they didn't even investigate that it could be an accident, that they jumped to suicide,
Right.
because if missing witness report 2, the woman who's seen the severely underdressed man with a black scarf on, blah, 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 if that woman was right, and Joann was the kind of person that we know she was, that she was always trying to help people, she was always trying to comfort people, and she was at church and was a good Samaritan, there's no reason to believe that she wouldn't have tried to help somebody that looked like they were underdressed across from a church in the middle of winter. Like, that man could have been homeless. That man could have had his car break down. Like, anything. There's no reason to think that she wouldn't try and help him. And then for that scarf to get donated to Purple Heart, how does that happen? Legitimately, how does that happen?
Why stick to the suicide when you can also investigate accident? You can do both.
Well, they clearly didn't want to.
But I don't know why you wouldn't want to do the accident one. That one's so easy.
Exactly. It's such an easy out.
Allegedly.
Hypothetically, somehow the police were involved, wouldn't it make a lot more sense for them to say it was an accident rather than starting an uproar about suicide from, like, a deeply religious woman who was making future plans, who was very much a helicopter parent, always needed to know what her kids were doing and if they were safe, and, like, wouldn't it make a lot more sense of this was a tragedy to have it go over than to jump to suicide before there was even a body, before anything. And there is a witness statement saying that there was other people on the side. So just wouldn't it make more sense
easier
to not ruffle feathers? It does seem easier, and that's one of the pieces that really don't fit. That seems like a dumb criminal type of thing. It seems like a rookie mistake.
An officer spotted Joann's car at 9 p.m. and after running her license plate, and then it's not even her car registered to her.
Obviously, it must be suicide.
They took no further action because the car was on private property and in a driveway. So then another officer is concerned and noticed the car and takes even more action. Like, who made up this stupid-ass story?
The thing about all of these cases, right, especially cases that we do with family, is that you don't have to believe necessarily the same theory that the family believes exactly to know that something's not right.
Yes.
Like, we said that about Tanner Barton.
Exactly.
We said that a million times about other cases. We said that about Lena Chapin.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't believe the family story there.
Fair.
You see, no matter what, the pieces don't add up. There's something weird.
Yeah, you can tell that something's wrong, but you also have to take into account, like, there's no way the entire police force of a city was involved. So is that where some of these contradictions come from? Like, are there just, like, rookie cops that are just trying to do their job, and then maybe there's other people, maybe even higher up, who knows, trying to interfere with the investigation, and that's where some of these, like, numbers that seem deliberately fudged come from, because we know from the Coast Guard records that Michelle obtained, and those Coast Guard records, the Detroit Free Press, they reviewed them before they published their article for authenticity, and they, wanted to have double sources and make sure everything checked out, and it did. So those times from the Coast Guard records are different, and even a half an hour to an hour is a significant difference when you're basing how someone died, like, the entire timeline off of it, and how things happened and when things started being investigated. That's a pretty big discrepancy. I'm just saying it doesn't have to necessarily be what the first responding officer or the second, like, we just don't know. There's so many people involved. It could just be a bad apple somewhere that has authority, or it could be something completely different. But either way, something's not right.
Right. And, like, why donate evidence and not test it?
I still just don't understand how that happened. I understand how not testing it happened, because testing is expensive, and a lot of times they'll wait until they have enough, I guess, probable cause to test things, but I would imagine that somebody's missing should be enough cause. but they keep things in evidence without testing them until X, Y, or Z time pretty
Right.
frequently.
Keep it in evidence. Just keep it in evidence.
Well, I mean, one of the witnesses, like, was just deemed,
This is unreliable.
Attention seeking or something like that. And it seems like from a couple of different sources, like of different news articles, the police felt like him making up something to be involved.
Yeah.
Almost like when somebody claims ownership over a murder that they didn't commit. Even if that was true, what would have been the harm in the polygraph? I do realize that a polygraph is not ever going to be conclusive because there's a number of ways. If you actually deluded yourself into believing something, you will pass the polygraph. And somebody like me, who is
Ball of
anxious
anxiety,
as hell,
always gonna fail the test.
always gonna fail the test. But the fact that he was willing
Right.
says a bit, and the fact that he sketched the men that he saw.
That's, ooh.
I mean, yeah, it's an eyewitness statement. He sketches and offers a polygraph, and you don't include any of his testimony in the file.
Yeah, even if they were like, we didn't find this witness very reliable, it still should have been included in the file, right? Like, am I
Right.
crazy?
No.
I feel like I need to call.
We need a lawyer on call.
I mean, it is 10:30 at night, or I would legitimately text one of two detectives that we have talked about other cases with. And now I wish I would have.
On our updates episode, we texted. And if you want to discount it, like, investigate it and show, yeah, this isn't useful.
Like, this is just a personal thing for me. I can't trust what they count as reliable or unreliable because the Canadian police were told that Joann was depressed and suicidal, and her doctors and her family all said no. There's no record of that. That's not true. And it seemed like that seed that was planted about her being suicidal came from Michelle being interviewed and talking to the police, and Michelle saying that her mom was paranoid because of the threats. And it seemed like they took that and they turned it into she was needlessly paranoid and it was like a mental illness versus a threat was made on her life and she was freaking out about it.
I have been directly threatened. Paranoia is different then.
I just don't understand some of the decision making. And so I do understand why the family chose to go about it in the way that they went about it and to file the lawsuit, because
Totally.
from their point of view, the circumstances being what they are, they're just like hoping that during the course of discovery for the lawsuit that they would be able to figure out what went wrong specifically.
If I commit suicide by jumping into that exact river in that exact spot, don't. I didn't. I promise I didn't.
We're saying it and recording it. This is not hearsay. This is admissible. Judge, I want you to listen to me.
Something ain't right here.
You need to be the strong arm of justice.
Throw us a bone here.
Our list of enemies is very short.
One of my enemies is on this podcast.
And I'm not concerned about Dr. Veterinarian.
Don't take drugs from suspicious people. Let's go that way.
In conclusion, we don't allege anything about any of the
But we
things.
also don't allege our innocent deaths.
Well, we hope you had fun bullshitting with us. I'm Mo.
I'm Chip.
And I'm Mikey.
You just listened to the Deep Dark Truth Podcast. See you next time